Let's be very clear about something from the start. What Prince Harry did was not accidental. He was not impulsive. And it was certainly not a slip of the tongue. It was a deliberate, calculated intervention into one of the most sensitive geopolitical debates of our time. When Prince Harry publicly defended NATO and emphasized the sacrifices of Allied troops following comments made by Donald Trump, he crossed an invisible line, a line most senior royals spend their entire lives avoiding. This wasn't just a statement. It was a signal. And that signal has left many asking a question that is quietly echoing through royal corridors, political circles, and military communities alike. Is Prince Harry acting as a reckless royal rebel, or is he attempting to redefine himself as a serious global statesman? To understand why this moment matters, we need to understand what was really said and what it disrupted. Trump's comments questioning NATO's value and the cost of its commitments reignited an old debate in American and global politics. Supporters framed it as strategic realism. Critics saw it as dangerous isolationism. But what made this moment different was not the comment itself, it was who responded. Prince Harry, a man who served in Afghanistan, a man whose military identity has always been central to his public image. A man who walked away from royal duties, but never fully stepped away from the symbolic weight of his title. When Harry spoke about NATO's sacrifices, he wasn't speaking as a politician, he wasn't speaking as a diplomat. He was speaking as someone who had worn the uniform, who had lost friends, who had lived the consequences of international alliances on the ground. And that gave his words a credibility that few public figures possess. But credibility does not mean permission. The British royal family operates under a strict, almost sacred rule: political neutrality. Royals do not comment on foreign policy. They do not challenge elected leaders. They do not take sides in active geopolitical debates, especially not those involving the United States. Harry knows this, which means this was not ignorance, it was choice. And choice is where things become complicated. Because by defending NATO publicly, Harry did more than honor fallen soldiers. He positioned himself in opposition to a powerful political narrative. He aligned himself with multilateralism, shared sacrifice, and global cooperation values that are increasingly contested in modern politics. That alignment matters. It tells us something about how Harry sees himself now. He is no longer speaking for the crown, but he is not speaking against it either. He is speaking around it, carving out a parallel identity that exists outside traditional royal constraints. And that identity is deeply rooted in military legitimacy. Harry's service in Afghanistan has always been treated differently from that of other royals. It wasn't symbolic. It wasn't ceremonial. It was operational. He flew missions. He faced real danger. He lost comrades. That experience shaped him, and it gave him a moral authority he now appears willing to use. But moral authority comes with risk, because once you step into geopolitical discourse, you invite interpretation, reaction, and consequence. And the reaction was immediate. Supporters praised Harry for honoring service members and standing up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Military families, veterans, and international observers saw his words as respectful, grounded, and necessary. But critics saw something else. They saw a royal or former royal inserting himself into American political discourse. They questioned whether Harry was undermining the monarchy's neutrality. They asked whether he was freelancing diplomacy without mandate or accountability. And perhaps most importantly, insiders began asking whether this was the beginning of something larger. Because this was not Harry's first politically adjacent intervention. Over the years, he has spoken on climate change, mental health, misinformation, and now military alliances. Each time, the scope expands. Each time, the stakes rise. This NATO statement wasn't about domestic activism. It wasn't about charity. It was about global power structures. That's a different arena entirely. And it raises a critical question. Is Harry drifting into a role traditionally reserved for statesmen, not celebrities? If so, where does that leave him? He is not an elected official. He is not a diplomat. He is not a working royal. Yet he carries a title, a platform, and a legacy that amplify everything he says. That combination is unprecedented. And it makes institutions uncomfortable. Inside royal circles, silence followed, but silence should not be mistaken for indifference. The monarchy does not respond publicly to every disruption. It absorbs, evaluates, and adjusts. Harry's statement did not provoke an immediate rebuke. but it did reinforce existing concerns about unpredictability. From the palace's perspective, the danger is not what Harry said, it's the precedent it sets. If one royal voice can comment on NATO today, what prevents another from commenting on trade, war, or elections tomorrow? That is why this moment matters far beyond the headlines. At the same time, American political observers are watching closely. Harry's words were careful, but their implication was clear. He did not attack Trump directly, he did not endorse a party, but he challenged a worldview. And in modern politics, challenging a worldview is often more powerful than attacking a person. This places Harry in a strange position. He is respected by veterans. He is distrusted by political purists. He is tolerated by the monarchy. And he is scrutinized by governments. That is not the profile of a rebel. That is the profile of someone testing the boundaries of influence. But influence without accountability is fragile. If Harry continues down this path, he will face increasing pressure to clarify his role. Is he an advocate? A commentator? A moral voice? Or something closer to an unofficial envoy shaped by experience rather than office? The answer is not yet clear. What is clear is that Harry is no longer content with symbolic relevance. This NATO statement was not about headlines. It was about identity. It was about asserting that service matters, that alliances matter, that sacrifice should not be reduced to political currency. Whether you agree with him or not, that message resonated because it came from someone who has lived the cost of those alliances. And that may be Harry's greatest strength and his greatest vulnerability. Because once you speak from lived experience, you cannot easily retreat into silence again. The world will expect more. More clarity, more consistency, more accountability. And the question remains unresolved. Is Prince Harry redefining what it means to be royal in the modern world? Or is he slowly stepping into a role no royal has ever successfully occupied? A royal without a crown, a statesman without a state, a soldier without an army. This was not just a comment about NATO. It was a declaration of intent. And the consequences of that declaration are only beginning to unfold.